joining us for another week. And if you're new, sit back, relax, because you just might like what you find. Okay, as you all know, last week we did brunch, which was an amazing episode. I'm still like reeling from those sandwiches. If you haven't seen it, trust me, do yourself a favor, go back and check it out. But this week we're taking our foot off the brake with the fat, not necessarily with the flavor. We're doing a spaghetti and meatballs, and you're like, I can do that at home with a box of spaghetti and a thing of sauce. No. We're doing a turkey meatball over a squash spaghetti, not to be confused with spaghetti squash, two totally different things. Try saying that 5 times really fast. Okay. Topped with a balsamic sauce, and it is a delicious meal that, you know what, you can actually go back for seconds and not feel guilty. That's always a good thing, right? I know. Okay, so right here, I have 2 cloves of garlic chopped up, minced finely, as well as a tablespoon of shallots, and we are going to first saute these. Nice and good. Okay, so you know, I like to start off telling you what has recently been goings on in my life. And once again, people think I make these things up, and I really, really don't. Toss these around a little bit. So this past week, I went to a little seminar, kind of round table type thing for women in media. So while we're letting these saute up, I have 1/3 of a cup of panko crumbs here. These are gluten-free, but you can use whatever kind is good for you. I have that. I have half a teaspoon of smoked paprika and a half a teaspoon of ground mustard. I like the smoked paprika because it gives it like a nice smoky flavor. I have 1 teaspoon of basil. So as I'm getting ready for my conference, I like to wear the little waist, trainer things, right? I told you I had a baby. I'm trying to, suck everything back up and in. And the ladies who wear them, they know what I'm talking about here. Well, I went from the bigger size. I'm starting to go down to the smaller size. You know, we're family here. I keep it real. So when you usually change sizes, that first initial wear is usually kind of rough, right? So I couldn't do it myself, so I had to get my husband to do it. So I laid on the bed, and he stuck his knee down, and he kind of took it all in. Don't judge me. But, when he did it, I was like, whoo, okay, that's really tight there, but I'll be all right. So I get together, I'm leaving the house, and it was a mad, crazy dash trying to get out. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong, but it was like, okay, whatever. So we get into the car, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, this is a little bit tighter than I thought. It ended up being a lot tighter than what I thought, from taking the ride from here all the way to where the seminar was. And let's just say I'm sitting in the car like, oh crap, I've made a mistake. But at this point, I've committed to it. So it's too late. There's no going back because I couldn't take it off with the outfit that I had on. Okay, now I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of A1 Thick and Hearty. Not the regular A1, but A1 Thick and Hearty. I love using Thick and Hearty with turkey meat because it just gives it a bolder, stronger flavor. So by the time I got to the place, I'm a front rower. I don't like sitting in the back when I go places. I like being, front and center. Well, this was one of those times I should have thought about that a little bit more than before I sat in the seat. Because they're starting to talk, and I'm sitting in this little seat, and I'm moving back and forth, trying to, get comfortable, and I had to move there, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I know they probably go is this girl okay? Is she on some drugs or something? They're probably waiting for me to start scratching because I could not stop fidgeting back and forth. It was so awful. They had good hors d'oeuvres there and everything, and I couldn't even touch them because I said, good Lord, if I take one bite of something, I'm going to pop out of this thing. And I was so hungry too, so hungry. So by the end of the night, my husband came back to pick me up, and he bought me some food, so nice, crab cake and a salad, and I'm like, I'm getting ready to eat. My kids are, mommy, hold that thought. I got in that car, and I released the Kraken like nobody's business. He looks over at me, and I'm like, don't judge me, give me my food. I swear, I don't understand how I get myself into these types of messes here, but only me, right? Okay. Then I'm going to add a tablespoon of chicken stock. This is going to help your turkey meatballs not be too dry, because we know turkey meat can sometimes be dry, so you always have to make sure you have enough moisture in it. Okay, now we're going to take our shallots and garlic off the stove, put those in here. Give it a quick little stir. Okay, we're going to add our egg, 1 egg beaten, and about a teaspoon of salt. And then time to get your hands dirty. Okay, once you have it nicely blended, you don't want it to get mushy on you, but you want to make sure everything is blended. You're going to take a baking sheet. Make sure it's sprayed with some, you know, Pam non-stick spray, whichever kind you use. Take your meat. You don't want them to be too big because you want to have about 16 meatballs. Therefore, you can have 4 for each person and be a serving of 4. Or you can just save them all for yourself. You know, I don't judge. That's not what we do here. All right, 16. Okay, the meatballs are rolled, and after I wash my hands, I'm going to put these in the oven, a 420 oven for 13 minutes. All right, be right back. All right, guys, next up, we're going to work on our balsamic sauce. Now, when we start out, you want a really good balsamic vinegar. I'm using JD Gourmet. I found it at the Food and Wine Festival here in Washington, D.C. a few years ago, and it's absolutely delicious. If you can't find JD's Gourmet, find a really good one when you go to the store. You don't want a store brand, or you can just go on jdgourmet.com and find, trust me, this is the one that you want. We're going to do 1/3 of a cup of the balsamic vinegar in a pan over a low to medium heat. And then we're going to add 1 clove of garlic finely minced. Surprise, surprise, garlic. I didn't use it that last week, so it's getting used in everything today. All right, you know how I feel about garlic. We have a love affair. 1/2 teaspoon of sugar. 2 tablespoons of heavy cream. And it's not a lot of cream, people, but we just want enough to give it a little bit of body. Stir that up. And then I have 3 leaves of sage here, which will turn out to be about a teaspoon of sage. We'll chop these up. All right, so there's been a lot of stuff going on in pop culture and news lately. And I love being on TMZ Live. And they hit me a few times. I've been on there about 4 or 5 times. And they hit me last week, and I said, sure, hey, why not? And we were talking about the Ariana Grande, Big Sean breakup because they were going to put sage in a pan. So we were talking about, you know, how she felt the last straw before they broke up was Big Sean put her as a lyric in one of his songs. Now, he goes on to say that he has a $1 million girl that has a $1 billion lady part. And she got mad. I'm like, sweetie, don't you know? That's a good thing. Like, he didn't even put you with the millions. He put you with the billions. If that were me and that were my man, he would be getting dinner, dessert, and a few tricks by the end of the night, if you know what I'm saying. And if she was smart, she could have turned that into the song and be like, $1 billion. I mean, it pretty much writes itself. But this is me on TMZ Live.
I got to go back, and that's it. And she thought it was selfish on his part that he ever even got mad that she would do that.
Hey guys, it's India from Fort Washington, Maryland. I understand Ariana Grande being a little bit upset. That's because she's young. But she had to think that she was dating a rapper. But see, if it was me and my man came home saying that, he would get dinner cooked and dessert. But Harvey, real quick, do you have a new barber? Because I'm noticing you got a fade these days.
Well, as a matter of fact, India. Is it okay?
I love it. I love it, by the way. It looks like a black barber because not many white barbers know how to do a fade like that.
True that. True that. You spotted it, India. It is indeed a black barber. Okay.
Okay, so I had to ask Harvey about the hair because it had been driving me crazy for the last couple of weeks. I guess you can tell I'm kind of addicted to TMZ. All right, I got some fresh thyme here, and also I'm going to take off about a teaspoon of it on the sprigs. And all you got to do is just, when you get a sprig, just go down it nicely, and it'll take all of them right off. Also, the Bruce Jenner interview happened with Diane Sawyer, and, you know, I'll tell you this. You don't have to, and I don't necessarily understand what he's gone through all those years, but what you can understand is the hurt. And when I saw the hurt in his eyes, it just made me feel bad about every Bruce Jenner joke I have ever told. And I cried pretty much the entire interview from somebody living in a body for so long and feeling like they can't be who they truly are, of the stigma that others might put on them. But I'll tell you one thing, if he probably would have married that Kardashian woman, you know, earlier, he might have came out and decided, hey, this ain't even worth it. Because I'm just saying, no man has left the Kardashians unscathed. Lamar, drug problem, no longer in the league. Scott Disick, who's still there, is found drunk someplace, wandering around a hotel at all hours of the morning. Rob doesn't even talk to them. Bruce is now a woman. I'm trying to tell you. And Kanye, he was already crazy before he went in, so he doesn't count. He just doesn't count. Okay. Chop these up just a little bit. And we are going to throw these in our pan. Give everything a nice little stir. What we just want to make sure is that all of our sugar dissolves and melts nicely. Okay. All right, let's taste it to see what we need. It's perfect. Okay. Turn that off, and we're going to put our sauce directly into a food processor or blender, whichever one that you have. Also, without heating this and just putting this together, it makes a really, really good salad dressing. Okay, and then I have 1 cup of olive oil that we are going to slowly drizzle into our food processor. All right, we're going to take the cup of olive oil, good olive oil, and slowly pulse it in. All right, let's see what we got going on here. Oh, that is so beautiful and creamy-like. Let's taste a little bit. See what we got. It doesn't need anything. Now, if you do not use a good balsamic vinegar such as JD Gourmet, you're probably going to have to use more sugar because this just has a natural sweetness to it. So if you know your balsamic vinegar is tart, you're not using the right one, and probably double up on the sugar. Okay, now we're going to take this out and put it back in our pan. And we're going to keep it over a low heat just so it stays warm. If you turn it up too high, it's going to break, and you don't want that. You just want to separate. Okay, next up, we are going to spaghetti our squash. Say that 5 times fast. You don't even know how many takes it took me to get that right. Okay, so I have my squash here and my peeler, and actually it's going to come out more like a fettuccine type of noodle, but nobody says I'm going home to go fix meatballs and fettuccine. No, it's meatballs and spaghetti. So, okay, you want to have a good peeler, and after you peel your squash and chop off the top, that little nubbin part, because most squash have that little odd shape at the top, and you're going to want to shave down until you get to the seeds. Just shave and keep going in a circle to make sure you can get as much out of one as you possibly can. I say 1 to 2 per person, but you save the rest of it. Since you don't use the seeds, you can save the rest of it and use it as a side dish, or in your stir fry later on in the week. Okay, so the NBA playoffs are going on, and before we get there, first, I don't know if you heard about a young lady. Her name is Britt McHenry. She's a sports reporter for ESPN. She's based here in the Washington, D.C. area, so I've seen her, quite a bit. And her car got towed, and the video got leaked of her, kind of going off on the towing lady. I don't know one person who is not severely agitated that when they come out of a nice meal, their car is gone, because these little spotters sit there and wait for you to, as soon as you walk in the door, come hook your car up and take it. Now, I'm not saying she was necessarily nice, but if they suspended her over that, goodness knows, my mouth, if I'm sitting there looking at that little imp behind the glass, it feels like they're power drunk at that point in time, I need to work for myself because I would stay getting fired. And let me tell you something. You don't understand how much it pains me right now that I have to take up for this girl. I mean, it's like, poor little blonde-haired, blue-eyed sideline sports reporter. Said no one ever. Okay, so the playoffs are going on right now. Cleveland, the Cavaliers, and LeBron and Kyrie, they swept Boston. Really dirty play on Kevin Love, who now could be out for at least 2 weeks. Let's hope it's just that. I think they are the ones to beat in the East. If you would have asked me early on in the season, I would have said no, because that coach, David Blatt, who I could not pick out of a lineup, you know, this is his first year, and he just really does not know what he's doing. But LeBron is so good that he has been able to play at a top level and get everybody else involved, as well as coach. So to me, they're the ones to beat coming out of the East. And in the West, I thought Golden State might be a little bit too young, but, you know, I think they're ready for the big league. Okay, after we spaghetti our squash, we have our pan here. Just a little bit of olive oil, just enough to coat the pan. We'll turn that up to a nice medium low heat and saute them. So, yeah, Golden State, I didn't know if they were going to be ready with the Splash Brothers of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. But they're looking really, really good right now. And I know they just played the Pelicans, who will be, you know, a future up-and-coming team. And we'll sprinkle a little bit of salt in here. But they look really, really good. I just hate that, you know, that Clippers and Spurs in that matchup, that one of them are going to be gone early on. But when is it going to be the Clippers' time? I hope soon, because, you know, for some reason, they just can't seem to get over that hump. It's like they have the talent, but I don't know what it is that every year, and don't talk bad about Chris Paul, I know Steph Curry has put him on skates more than a few times this past season. And that's being nice. That's really being nice. But I like the Clippers, man. You know, but I think I might have to rock Golden State. They're young, but I don't know. Okay, so we're going to toss these up and let them saute just till they start to get soft. Okay, these are nice and soft, so I'm going to add about a teaspoon maybe of vegetable stock. You can use water, but stock just gives it a little bit more of a flavor. And this is just to kind of soften it just a little bit more. These are ready, so that means it's time to plate. All right, time to plate. Well, bowl, actually. Okay, we're going to start out with some of our zucchini squash here. Make a nice little pillow. Next up, we are going to take, I say 4 meatballs is good for each person. And then we are going to top it off with our balsamic sauce. Oh, yum, 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 yum. All right, I don't know about you, but I'm ready to eat. But before we eat, we like to have, you know, a lot of fun here. I tell a lot of jokes, we share stories, we share food. But on a serious note, a lot of my black men are being gunned down these days by police officers. And for me, it's a double-edged sword, because I grew up as the daughter of a police officer who was a very good man. Matter of fact, probably the best man I've ever met in my life. And to see what is going on today, it really breaks my heart. So in no way am I ever victim blaming, but please, let's tell our children, let's tell our brothers, let's tell our fathers, do what they say, because they've shown, back to Trayvon, that they'll get away with killing us, okay? So just listen, live to see another day, and then take them to court because they violated your civil rights. Just listen, okay? No more lives need to be lost, because it hurts. As a mother raising 2 black boys who will be tall, and somebody might find them menacing before they ever even open their mouth to say a word, because they've been stereotyped before they even had a chance to show them who they really are. Let us do better. Let us teach our children better, because the world is not always going to be nice. But the one thing we have to do is continuously spread love, because maybe if some of these police officers were shown a little bit of love and acceptance growing up, they might not be so fast to kill our men. Okay? Now that that's out the way, let's go eat. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us this week on Let's Cook, Let's Chat, as we made our turkey meatballs, our squash spaghetti, topped off with a delicious creamy balsamic sauce. Okay, so I guess you see that I'm rocking my Thor shirt this week. That's because I am one of those geeks and nerds who loves when the comic books come to life, and the new Avengers movie, Age of Ultron, is coming out May 1st. I cannot wait to go see it. I will be one of those first people in line Friday morning. And I guess you can tell who my favorite Avenger is. And I don't know if you were paying attention a couple of weeks ago when I was doing the wrap-up here of all the places that my cat, also named Thor, by pure coincidence, comes up and photobombs me. Check it out, starters. Two things about this meal are great. One, you don't need any forks. And I really need to change his name to Shadow, because wherever I am, he is never more than like 2 steps behind. One of these days, I'm really going to break an ankle because he's constantly following me everywhere, weaving in and out of my legs. Okay, for this recipe and so much more, you know where to find me on Facebook, India Sweet. Also, Instagram, India Sweet. Make sure you hashtag your stuff, Let's Cook, Let's Chat, so you can see what I'm cooking in my kitchen and I can see what you're cooking in yours. Twitter, Indo Sweet Sports is where you can find me over there. All right, before we go, I would like to dedicate this show to a beautiful woman named Dorothy Hurd. Dorothy, your smile, your warm hugs, and kind words will truly be missed, along with your earrings. God bless you and your family. All right, until next time, ladies and gents, always, always enjoy